Well, it's May 31st and we're finally gonna get trying to rototill this garden. We got our 1975 vintage Sears rotospader. I need to get a new this thing here. I've tried, it's cracking, and I've tried to fix it up a little bit, and it's holding for now, but eventually I gotta find a replacement. I couldn't get a new, I have to put a new spark plug in this every year to get it going. It gets so carboned up, but haven't been able to find one. So for now I'm gonna try and reuse last year's. Hopefully it works. Up until now it never seems to work, so we're just going with a Hail Mary on this one. Well, we almost had it done and on one tank of gas here. I just have a tiny little sliver left, and then it's off to the smaller garden. Well, that wasn't too bad. We had rain last night and it softened the soil up just nicely. It's like rototilling butter today. Just beautiful. It's a nice cool day, so perfect weather. Well, we got both gardens done now. And we can finally start planting. Unfortunately, it's getting a little bit late, but as long as I can get everything in before my birthday on June 10th, I'm happy. It's been pretty cool lately anyway, so, well, other than last week. But yeah, soil's just amazing. That's about 16 years worth of work. Oh. Alright guys, it's a beautiful evening here in Kep Valley, and we're going to take a little tour of the garden. I've been working hard on it this year. As you can see down here, I've raised this up. I'm probably going to put in some retaining wall blocks, but what I've been trying to do is flatten the garden out. It was on a slope for the most part, so when you get heavy rains, washes it down. You can see over here, I did a lot of work back in June on this, which is why the garden got a pretty late start this year. I don't think I got everything planted until at least the end of June. Pretty much cutting and filling. There's a lot of good soil at the bottom of this garden, so all of it had to be dug out first and then backfilled with the mineral soil that's under the topsoil, which you see here. It's been pretty washed down because I haven't been at it for over a month. But all this is eventually going to be flattened out to this elevation here. And what I might do is, I think I'm probably going to leave this ditch in the middle of the garden. I'm going to try to raise the grade just slightly over here so everything slopes towards the middle. That way, in a heavy rain, all the excess water will drain into like a swale or ditch, and then it can just drain into the soil because it's pretty sandy here. So we'll take a tour of the plants we got here. You got tomatoes. These are all still pretty green. We're not going to see ripe ones for a while yet. I think we planted about 35 to 40 plants this year. We usually make salsa in cans, and the fungus tends to kill them prematurely, so the yield isn't always the best. And here, I didn't plant anything in this area, but this is pretty much the dill forest. Some dill came up last year, and I just let it go to seed. So this is pretty much naturally seeding itself back in. And it's all starting to bloom now, so that should be cool. And we got our zucchini plant right down here. This is the yellow zucchini. Looks like I'm gonna have to do some picking here because it's kind of getting a little large. Oh, this one's, I guess because it grows there and wants to curve inward, it did a big curve there. Very interesting. I have to pick some of these other ones. My wife likes to cook them when they're smaller, not when they're really big. So the eggplants, I've never grown eggplants where they've gotten this big, the plants, but again, we planted them late, so I think we're just starting to see fruit. Unfortunately, oh, there's one right there. See one, just a little guy under there. So hopefully we have a warm September and things do well. We got jalapeno peppers. This plant is just gigantic. Didn't have enough tomato cages to put around this, but I should stake it up, although it's pretty much set in place now, so if I try to straighten it, I think it'll just break at this point. And the potato patch, again, this row and a half here, I planted, I think probably first week of July, so it's a little bit later. The rest of it was early June, I think. So they're pretty much, it's pretty much getting close to being ready. I think for the first time my wife decided to plant okra, and it seemed to do well, but the fungus seems to be killing a lot of the leaves. I guess for being in a valley, I find fungus seems to be the biggest problem I have here, especially the verticillium wilt. It tends to kill the tomatoes prematurely, and I've had two cantaloupes and a melon just spontaneously putrefy, probably from that. So that's unfortunate. And we got some, let's see, yeah, the peppers are coming along. There's quite a few there. Can't remember if this plant is supposed to be the colored peppers or green, but hopefully to make salsa this year and get some of those. We got the leeks here. Oh, we got frogs hopping around too. Tons of frogs, lots of snakes down here. It's quite beautiful. The cabbages I planted, but they just languished for ever and ever. Because I guess I planted them when it was too hot. So once the garden's done, this area, I'll probably build a retaining wall right where you see where it drops there is where I graded it to. But since I had already planted cabbage beforehand, I couldn't finish the job down here. So pretty much this spot here is going to have to be dug down about 2.5 feet because the topsoil, the good topsoil, is about that thick. That's the other problem with the slope, is all the good soil will wash down and gather at the bottom, and then you'll have a lot thinner soil up top and you don't have as good productivity. I think I'll probably have to spray the cabbages. The cabbage worms are getting into it, but I did go over them today and squish ones that I did see. The onions are doing well, they're forming bulbs. Not sure if we're going to get ones that I can keep over winter, because I did get them in late. Crazy thing today is I don't know how many, probably never seen that many Colorado potato beetles at this time of year. Generally don't see them at this time of year. And I must have picked about 10 or so off the plants. I wonder if they got away on me early this year, and then they managed to become adults by now. Now here's one thing you want to do in gardening is go by the rule of 1 year seeding, 7 years weeding. And especially at this time of the year, you will get these guys. Here's a lamb's quarters. It's just a small plant, but even when they're small, they'll put out a little bit of seed, just enough to keep going for next year. And these are the ones you want to keep on top of. Do not let any weed go to seed in your garden. I'm not sure how many potatoes, but I usually grow at least a couple 100 pounds every year. From the looks of things, the size of the potato plants this year, I say we're going to have a pretty huge yield. This area of the garden has some of the best soil in it, so I'm sure it's going to be a high yield year with some pretty large potatoes. And down here is where I did the biggest amount of work. I probably raised the grade about 2 feet or more in this area. This retaining wall was existing already, but I built it up another layer. And as you can see, what happened was I didn't have it graded where the water could flow the other way, and I ended up with a storm where the water flowed down the back here, and it caused the retaining wall to collapse slightly. So I put all these things to keep it from going any further, and I made sure that I graded things so the water would sit here or not go any further than this. And you can see here where I put up the concrete block retaining wall. And this shouldn't go anywhere. I put it down pretty well, packed it, and then put about 3 to 4 inches of stone. So it's sitting on a good bed of material. And then, oh, look, we got some either raccoon or skunk. I know there's been a skunk around lately. You can see the prints right there. But what I've done here is, oh, look at that. This black stuff is great for snakes. Hey there, snake. Good. He's just sitting there. It's a perfect spot for snakes down here. He's just a little guy. Little garter. I have seen milk snakes out here as well. Put that back, but what I usually do is I'll put in front of this fabric, I'll put rocks and then the stone, and then put the fabric over it so the soil's well drained and there's not hydraulic pressure on the retaining wall. But yeah, down here we got a row of peppers, which I've supported with tomato cages. Some of them are getting pretty large. Got all our tomato plants along the edge here. Got some nice ripening ones. Down here is the watering hole. I tried clearing around it a few weeks ago, And I found just down where I have those rocks there, I discovered a yellow jacket nest and got 4 stings in the leg. So one of these nights I'll take it out. Hate those things. I had a boat on the other side of the property, and I discovered there was a hornet's nest under it, or a yellow jacket nest underneath it. And I tried smoking it out, but the skunk took care of that for me. Took the nest out and just destroyed it. Skunks love getting into those nests. They'll eat all that larvae, and they do a good job in getting rid of those. So we've got tomatoes here, coming along nice. Over here we have our hazelnuts, and we are getting a ton of these this year. The squirrels have not been alerted to it yet, and the chipmunks, there's not that many around this year, so we're getting a lot of these things. You can see they come on the husks like this, and then you just open them up and pop them out just like that. And this is about the time to start picking them, when they get that, when they start turning brown. You want to get them before the critters do, so. But yeah, I'll have to get the ladder out eventually, because there's just a ton of them. But hazel's known for being able to bend well, so I can reach up with my prong and pull the branch down, right down to the ground to pick them. I can reach way up there. See, I can pretty much pull the top right down. But these aren't really that ripe yet. See what other ones we can see. Need a little bit more time. For some reason, they tend to ripen faster, the ones underneath. I don't know why that is. But you know they're ripe when you can pull them open like this. And, well, maybe this one isn't quite there. Yeah, still pretty wet. And then they have to dry though still. I mean, if you open these up right now and eat trying to eat the nut, it's very moist. It's almost like, I guess, like a raw peanut would be like before it's roasted. All right, we'll go check out the cucumber patch, which is, I believe it's almost done for the year. Again, the fungus took it out early on us this year. We had 2 different varieties. The English cucumber held on just a little bit longer. And you can see the green leaves on there, but I don't know if we're going to get any more. There's a few on there, but they're pretty darn tiny. We got, again, we got the different varieties of hot peppers and sweet peppers, sort of all intermixed. There's one, I think that's a jalapeno. There we go. Or actually, that might be one of the chili peppers. I think it is. There we got more of our tomatoes. We got the plum tomatoes, San Marzano, and Roma. Yeah, here's the melon patch. We got some of the musk melons And the watermelons have done the same thing happened last year. They died prematurely on me. I'm not sure why. Probably the fungal disease again. You get that really humid weather and rain and damp conditions, and it just wreaks havoc. There's a couple nice melons here, but you can see the plants are really suffering as well. I don't know. Not even sure when this is supposed to be ripe, but I see some goo coming out of the end of it, and I don't know. That might not be a good sign. You might have to pick that one and make sure it doesn't rot on us. Got another good one over here, and I don't see anything wrong with that, so that one might be good. Two of the cantaloupes you can see over there have already gone bad and putrefied. And man, do they stink when they rot. And here was, my son and his friends were playing in the mud the other day. And you can see here, I believe these are, they could be raccoon prints too. There might have been both skunk and raccoon hanging around here. Over here we have the butternut squash, which is doing very well this year. It's later, but we do have a couple here that are pretty much done. You can tell by the color they get that nice cream color to them. And then over here we have acorn squash, which we actually haven't grown in a few years. I imagine they're probably getting near ripeness. Oh, the plant's looking like it's starting to dwindle. You know when they get a certain age, when they're not fully green anymore. And we got more wild dill growing up in here. And some of our concrete beds where we have some other peppers. And cherry tomatoes. These are orange ones. So tasty. Well, for some reason this year, we had to get rid of a lot of the onions. And I think these ones, yeah, like there's one right here. Yeah, it's got root rot on it. So that one's toast. These ones kind of look like they've fallen over. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Something's eating at the roots. It just came out on its own. Oh, and there's another one. Another one that's done. Yeah, it's rotted too, unfortunately. And I think we got another one that's also toast. Yeah, when you can pull them out and they come out with no effort. Yeah. Yeah, that one's definitely rotten. And our apples have been doing extremely well this year. I've pulled out, I don't know how many apples off this tree so far this year. And there's just been tons. The other apple tree is pretty much done for the year. It's an earlier apple, I guess. I'm not sure what variety it is, but yeah, that one's pretty much fully done. Yeah, and this is happening sometimes on these. I don't spray these apples, so that looks like that verticillium fungus around here. Toss that away. Oh, here is a beautiful one. That one I think deserves a picking. One problem I'm having here is the birds. When the apples ripen to a certain amount, they like to go to town on them and peck them. And then the yellow jacket wasps take over after that and make it even bigger. And it looks like the slugs are moving in too. Yeah, we got a lot more work ahead of us down here for grading this. These are all the rocks. There's a lot of rocks in that soil down there. I hit one spot and it was almost like a layer of rocks. But there's just rocks of every kind and every sort I've pulled out of there. I've also used them I've pretty much filled these concrete blocks full of the smaller rocks. Give it some extra weight, extra strength for holding back the soil. I'm not sure. Let's see, the beans might be. Not sure if I should be picking it today or maybe I can leave it another day to pick. I kind of did this on purpose this year. Planted the beans along. So it's so tough picking beans bending over. So at least here I can stand right beside here and pick without breaking my back. And this is a spot where we kind of left off. And as I was explaining the other day, this is the area that's going to be taking the spoils. I dug all this soil out and piled it up there because it's all good topsoil. Found a lot of garbage in here too because the previous owners, I guess they used to have a bit of a slope there where they threw garbage over the end. When I first bought this place, this whole area here, all this slope was bush. And it was, they had thrown garbage down here, there was brush. It took me a few years to get it all cleaned up, but I'm just amazed at how well the grass grows down here and how nice it is. It's good to keep your garden away from the bush here. Reduces the pests if you have mowed grass beside it. But this area is taking all the spoils. As you can see here, I've started building it up, and I want to take this whole area here and build it up about level, so I'm not having to put in too much of a retaining wall here.